Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm Meha Bharadwaj Alter. Now, the post-mortem of what went wrong with India in the World Test Championship final will continue for a while, and rightfully so, but it is also time for us to look ahead, and it's important for us to do so. What is in store for Indian cricket after the World Test Championship final? Let's talk about India's next series in the West Indies. What are the likely changes one expects in all three squads that will be announced soon? Will there be big changes? Will senior players be dropped? Will players like Yashasvi Jaiswal, Abhimanyu Ishwaran get a chance? We will also talk about the biggest tournament of the year, the ICC ODI World Cup, and the delay in formally announcing its schedule. Now, there's a draft that has been sent to the ICC by the BCCI as well as to the participating countries. This draft has the full schedule and the venues where the matches will be played. Remember, India will be hosting the World Cup later this year. It's supposed to start from the 8th of October. So, according to the draft, India will face off against Pakistan on the 15th of October at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. So, the big match that's on the 15th of October between India and Pakistan will be played at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. We'll give you the details of that World Cup draft on the show. But the question is also, why the delay? How will the fans traveling to India make travel arrangements? So that's something that needs to be looked at. But let me introduce our guest to you. Jamie Alter joins us here on the show, and I can tell you he's disappointed by the delay in the World Cup schedule because fans are the biggest stakeholders and the delay will impact them directly. He's been very vocal about why this is something that shouldn't be happening, Jamie. And 2015, 2019, this wasn't the case. You had the schedules out much before. I think more than a year before.
Yes, good evening, Maya. Good evening, Vedam. Absolutely. On average, you would assume, in fact, it's true that 12 months is the minimum for any host board in the past to give the ICC. Now, the ICC might back themselves and their team for being outstanding tournament organizers, but they're dependent on the host board, or in the case of 2015, Australia and New Zealand, to give them those schedules. And I very clearly remember it was about 15 months before the 2015 World Cup that I remember where I was sitting in the office, and it came, and we were able to start our planning. Same for 19, because I can speak from the perspective of a journalist since 2004-5. When the schedule comes out, that's when we start, hoping that we get a chance to go. We have to book tickets, we have to get our DA, all that stuff. But the fans, the stakeholders, as you rightfully referred to them, they have a lot more than worrying about a letter from the editor and a visa. They have to apply for leaves. They have to start booking hotels. Maybe they have relatives. Maybe they have fans. They have to get. They have friends in the host country. They have to get visas. So it takes sometimes maybe 9-10 months for certain people from certain country to ensure all these processes fall in place, so that every 4 years
Sure.
they can land up in said country and do it. Now, by waiting 4 months to finally announce, and let's face it, this is not the final. We can assume this is the final schedule, but it's just a draft schedule as broken by a couple websites. Now, if it further gets delayed, you're basically telling all those overseas fans, NRIs, as well as all the overseas, the foreigners, we don't really care about you. You might make a mad dash for it, but probably people of a certain income, of a certain status, are the ones who are actually going to get there. Working class people, middle class people based overseas, you've given them very, very few options to come and watch this match. Now, that said, the BCCI probably is fully confident in India, where, countless people are mad about cricket. Many people have a lot of free time on their hands. BCI is probably thinking we're going to get full houses as it is. We don't necessarily need people coming in from overseas. With just our homegrown, homebred Indian fans, we're probably going to get houseful matches where India is concerned. So it's a strange one. We know why it's taken so long. No point talking about that here. But I just feel bad for all the fans. Probably some part of me is feeling a bit extra is sad for them because of what we saw at the Oval a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
All those fans cheering for 4 days. Then many of those same fans holding placards going after the team. So, but all said and done, no matter how you look at it, having a draft schedule come out 4 months before a World Cup, is embarrassing for the BCCI, I have to say.
Okay, so we're also introducing Vedam Jaishankar, who joins us on the show, and I don't think he's recovered from the shock of some of the decisions taken by India in the World Test Championship final. Vedam, have you recovered or still reeling under the shock? Or what happened?
No, you got it right. I haven't recovered. Especially after that first day where we chickened out and didn't bat first.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't recovered. Didn't expect an Indian team to chicken out so badly and not bat first, and that too on such a pitch. Yeah. It'll take some time to recover for that. But having said that,
Yeah.
I don't think BCCI understands what it is to work with a team. When I talk of a team, I don't just mean the Indian team. You need to get your tourism on board. You need to get your airline transport, your railways. Everybody has to be on board. Your hotel industry. And listen, even except maybe for Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, and maybe Chennai, I don't think any other big city can handle a sudden influx of tourists. They can't, especially where hotels are concerned. They really can't. They'll struggle. Even Calcutta would struggle if suddenly a huge influx of tourists came in. And we still haven't got it right.
Yeah.
And I think it's time we started working this out 1 year in advance. I know of friends of mine who went to the Oval. They had booked the tickets well in advance. They knew when the match was. They went there well in advance. Of course, the result was very disappointing for them, which is what I told them that, we'll do all the wrong decisions and finally, we'll be happy that we made the final and we'll make a big virtue of it. But I don't think we'll go beyond that. And unfortunately, it happened just as I predicted. We couldn't even make a fist of the whole match.
Yeah, okay. We're going to be talking about that in just a bit. You guys have already spoken about this, but this was slated to be later on the show because we're still talking about what next for Team India after the World Test Championship debacle and what can they do from here on? What are the changes that are likely to be made? So first, let's start with what next for Team India after the World Test Championship final. Well, they will get a bit of rest before the next World Test Championship cycle begins on the 12th of July. India will begin the tour of West Indies with 2 test matches. The first test will be played in Dominica on the 12th of July, like I said, and the second one will be at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad from the 20th of July. The test series will be followed by 3 ODIs and 5 T20Is, with the tour set to end on 13th August. The last 2 T20Is will be played in Lauderhill, USA. Now, India have strong test record in the Caribbean, having won their last 4 series in the country. West Indies have also been in decent form, having beaten Bangladesh and England in the last 2 series. So that's what India is going to be looking forward to now. What can you expect when it comes to the team selection for the West Indies series? That's also something that let's talk about that, and then I'll come to my guess. It seems there will be no hasty decisions taken on the veteran players after the World Test Championship final debacle, but there are 2 senior players who might not be on that flight to the Caribbean. Reports suggest that Cheteshwar Pujara and Umesh Yadav could be dropped from the test side, and Yashasvi Jaiswal and Mukesh Kumar are in contention to replace the 2 players. So the younger lot can be groomed for the tougher assignments in the future. That's not all. India will be playing 3 ODIs and 5 T20Is, and with Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli being phased out of the shortest format, expect the likes of Rinku Singh and Jitesh Sharma being given the opportunity to play T20Is after their impressive show in the IPL. So those are the changes expected. Let's get straight now talking about what kind of transition are the 2 panelists on the show expecting. Let me start with Jamie. Jamie, do you see wholesale changes, or do you see, few changes, couple of changes? Because I think the way we've seen historically, it's about phasing out a couple of senior players and not really going for a knee-jerk reaction. So what are you expecting from the squad that will be announced against the West Indies?
Well, let's start with the test because, like you just rightly informed our viewers, that is where the tour starts, right? July 12th. So let's assume we'll come to the one-days and the T20s. I think the T20s is perhaps the least relevant right now because the T20 World Cup is another 12 months from now. So, of course, there's the one-day World Cup. But let's start with the test because that to me is the format where this team has the most serious issues to answer. That said, look, we've talked about on this show over the last couple of days about transition, the reset button. I don't think it's going to happen with this tour. I'd be very, very surprised if it happened. Now, reports can suggest that so and so is going out and so is going in, and but again, who's taking these calls to drop so and so? Who's taking these calls to phase out? Right? Who are the selectors? No one's really sure. So while most of these reports end up being accurate, sometimes they do leave a bit of room to wonder, who is going to take it. If you were to ask me what changes I would like to see, of course, I would be very, very pleased to see if the same top five which contested the 2021 WTC final, which then contested this final, was changed. Again, or the four of the five batsmen. I'm discounting Gill here because he's 22, 23. He's got the world at his feet. The other top four from the top five, Meha, are at the end of their careers. Two of them more so. But are Rohit Sharma, Chiteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, and Ajinkya Rahane going to step down on their own will? Not at all. Someone's going to have that dialogue. And I don't know if yes, there's a month before the first test starts, but obviously we know that the team will be picked before and they'll fly out. So we're probably looking at a fortnight, a 2-week window where these discussions will have to be held if they happen. Maybe Chiteshwar Pujara is offloaded because let's face it, he's done outstanding service to India, over 100 test matches. But since he was recalled, 4 months after being dropped for inconsistency, barring 100 in Bangladesh, he's not really done enough to deserve a longer run. And you're also looking at a 2-year cycle. Now, if Rohit Sharma's post-Oval statements are to be believed, he definitely intends to be there 2 years from now at the 2025 WTC final at Lord's. Will India need him? I'm not so sure. Can his body last the rigors of playing two formats? I'm not counting him as a T20 player anymore. He has a one-day World Cup and then he has this test cycle. Virat Kohli, we've all talked about this. I mean, he's averaging 29 from the last 4 years. Remove that 185 scored against Ahmedabad in that final test, that drops to 25. That average falls to 28 something, if I'm not mistaken, overseas in the last 4 years. So he's also clearly a spent force. Now, we saw many experts and former players talk about Virat Kohli getting back to his best when he ended day 4 at the Oval on 44 of 60. Well, if your best is getting you 49 and 14, something is clearly wrong. So these are the players who perhaps need a break, who perhaps need to be phased out. To my mind, and I'll wrap it up, I know I'm ranting here. To my mind, if anyone should be kept, it is Ajinkya Rahane because of his leadership experience, impeccable record, albeit small sample size. If you stick Meha to the word transition, I believe he's the best person to lead that transition for 1 year. If the next captain is Shreyas Iyer, if the next captain is Shubman Gill, let Ajinkya Rahane be that person. But make it very clear to Rahane that your returns over the past 3 years have been very inconsistent. We're giving you a year. This is not, we're not judging you on your batting. We're judging you on the value you bring as a leader. Guide us through this transition phase. Help us build toward the next WTC cycle. But after 1 year, please discard Rahane because as a batsman, he's not going to be able to carry this team for much longer. These are the changes. Regarding the bowling, I don't really mind who comes and who goes because the bowling, I will still back much more than this crocked top five we have.
Okay, we'll talk about the bowling as well and what happened to India's fast bowling resources that once, was actually very good. We talk about the injuries, all of that, but let's continue this conversation about this transition phase. Vedam, if you could come in. Rohit Sharma, I want to know what is the future of Rohit Sharma. Do you see Rohit Sharma playing the next World Test Championship cycle for the next 2 years, all the way till the WTC final? Hopefully India gets there and hopefully wins that. But 2 years, he's going to be 38. Given that he's already captaining India in ODIs, it's a World Cup year. Let's begin with this year now. India are only going to be playing 4 test matches, 2 in West Indies, 2 in South Africa, which is in December. So there are no test matches. Should Rohit Sharma sit out of this? There is an ODI World Cup later, there's an Asia Cup as well. Should Rohit Sharma sit out from the test matches in West Indies? What's your take on this whole transition phase? How should India go about it? Let's start with Rohit Sharma first. What's your take on Rohit Sharma and then overall the transition phase?
First and foremost, I think Indian cricket is in a mess. it's in a mess because we can talk till the cows come home. But the real decisions are made by PR agents and the agents of the players. And they've got too much of power. And you have put a selection committee which does not command the stature of some of the previous committees. And you can bring down the entire Bollywood muzzle to come and convince them of who should be in the team. That's the biggest tragedy which is hitting Indian cricket right now. And as long as that continues, I think we are not going to make any decision which is for pro Indian cricket. Rohit Sharma is past his use by date, way past his use by date. He was a very good player, but he no longer is. And if you look back at this test, because he didn't want to open the batting on a green top, he threw away the toss. And that itself, you should send him home just for that. But yeah, I see. There will be a lot of excuses. There'll be the excuse of this being the World Cup year. There'll be the excuse of Asia Cup. There'll be the excuse that every test is important. You need maximum points from every test. All these excuses will be there, and the PRs and the agents will latch onto it and drive it home. Already, I read somebody somewhere saying that one of these guys has equaled Bradman's record. Come on. I mean, you really have to dig into some vague statistics to show that he is bypassed Batman. This is crazy. But this will not stop. This will go on. And I think we need a strong selection committee which will resist this kind of, tom-tomming and pushing. A series against the West Indies, especially in West Indies, is a great place to try out a lot of new hands.
Right.
And for me, straight away, it would be Jaiswal, who should be opening the batting with Shubman Gill, and Sai Sudarshan, who should be coming at number 3. A left-hander at number 3 would be an absolute asset, and I think he's about 18 or 19 years of age. So we can give him 2 years to fail. I'm not saying succeed. Give him 2 years to fail. But at the end of 21, 22, or whatever his age is, he will become a far superior player. If Rohit Sharma flops, there is no guarantee he's going to be a better player even for the next match. His best is behind him, and that is what we need to acknowledge. If you are not going to try out your new players against West Indies, in West Indies, then I don't think you will ever try them out. You'll just wait for somebody to make the call for you and drag along and say, yeah. The problem again is I don't think the selectors should be paid at all.
The other thing being, who is the chairman of selectors? I know that Shiv Sundar Das is, interim chairman. But Jamie, that's the other problem, right? You need to have somebody who's the chairman of selectors, and you've been saying it for a while, who needs to have some status, who needs to have some kind of standing, whose voice is heard, and I feel like that's been missing from Indian cricket for a while now. And that has been the difference. Somebody with a vision. You cannot just come in and it can't just be either the board president or the team management that decides the team. There has to be vision. There has to be, there's a reason why you have a committee of selectors who go all around this country, who see the players who are playing domestic cricket and have been playing well regularly in domestic cricket, and then create a vision board, right? You cannot just have, for this series, let's take this one, then you'll drop them, then you'll bring them back. What's the point of dropping and moving on from Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane and then coming back to them? At the end of the day, you're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. So that has been a huge problem as well, that there's nobody to guide this team forward in the right direction.
Absolutely, and that raises the question of priorities, intent. What is the direction? Vedam said, this system is not what it should be, and he rightly alluded to certain factors which often dictate selection and dictate players being pushed. And I totally understand where he's coming from. And again, I'll say it, Dilip Vengsarkar, Sandeep Patil, even Chris Shrikant, for all his shenanigans, we see him dancing on tables and making reels. And when he's doing commentary for Star Tamil, he still had clout. He had a cricketing brain, and he was able to take some tough calls. Kiran More. Unfortunately, Meha, this whole, the devaluating or the watering down of the status and the reputation of India's selection panel for the men's team, it came about during the almighty reign of Virat Kohli, and we can join the dots and see why it happened, right? We know how Vinod Rai, the former head of the CAU, how in awe of Virat Kohli he has. So it at some point, be it PR driven or whatever it is, who knows where it changed, but somehow the selectors became less important. Maybe they were in awe, and we've seen the problem. There were certain selectors who hadn't even played Test cricket,
Yeah.
and that devaluing, that trivializing of the selection committee has been gone on for too long. And even MSK Prasad, yes, he played a handful of matches, but we saw some of the statements, some of the decisions that his panel made. It just left you scratching your head, saying, what in the world is going on? And once again, Maya, if you'll allow me, I'll give the example of Greg Chappell. Of course, Greg Chappell was the wrong person for the job, and he left Indian cricket in a
Yeah.
hole. But he and Kiran More took the ballsy, if I can say, decision to drop India's captain, Saurav Ganguly, when after a 15 to 17-month period, he was averaging 35 with the bat. Virat Kohli is averaging 28 for 4 years. Why is Virat Kohli not droppable? Star power, star value. I leave the audience to join the dots here. But where is the next selection committee going to come from? Roger
Yeah.
Binney's there. He's part of the BCCI. He's a former South Zone selector. Why isn't he heading up the selection committee? It's a mess. Like Vedam said, it's a mess, and I don't see any silver lining or
Yeah.
any light at the end of the proverbial tunnel as long as this system doesn't get addressed.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, top players are past their prime. Look at Virat Kohli's average, like you said, Jamie, it's 32. Pujara's is 32. This is in the World Test Championship cycle. So, the last 2 years, Rahane is 24. Compare them to Joe Root. He's averaging 53. Khwaja averaging 64. Manas Labuschagne 52, Babar Azam 61, Steve Smith 52, Kane Williamson 75. There's Travis Head in there as well with 50 plus average. The difference being that these are your top players and they're not being able to perform well. And frankly, that your best two players during this World Test Championship cycle were Shreyas Iyer and Rishabh Pant, and unfortunately, both of them were out of the World Test Championship final. But the other question is also that I'm going to put to both our experts here. You're talking about transition, you're talking about Rohit Sharma past his prime. Vedam, you were talking about, how he needs to be dropped. My question is, who is going to be India's captain? Jamie suggested that just very clearly tell Ajinkya Rahane, because I think Ajinkya Rahane has earned his place. After how he's performed in the World Test Championship final, he's earned his place for the tour to the West Indies. So, who is going to be India's Test captain if Rohit Sharma is dropped?
Well, if you are asking me that question,
Yes, I am.
okay. Look, the Hardik Pandya doesn't decide when he is going to lead and which cricket he is going to play. The board has to decide for him. And if that is the case, I would expect Hardik Pandya to be your number one choice for skipper. And if that's not possible for whatever reasons, I would put Ravindra Jadeja on the job. And those are the only two names. And let's not worry about experience and non-experience. We've seen Graham Smith, who had absolutely zero experience, being the captain of South Africa. We've seen Azharuddin, we've seen Manzoor Ali Khan, Mataudi. There have been so many cases. You throw them into the deep end, I'm sure they will definitely be able to swim. I would still go with Hardik Pandya for all three formats because he's got a cricketing brain, he's got great ability, and he can bat, he can bowl, and he can field.
Yeah,
that
but that's
makes
the
a lot
thing.
of difference.
No, but Vedam, the problem is that Hardik Pandya does not want to play Test cricket. Hardik Pandya last played a Test match in 2018. Hardik Pandya is injury prone. It's very clear where his priorities are. And that's not Test cricket. So I don't see Hardik Pandya being in the Test squad. Then I'm saying, who else should it be? You've said Ravindra Jadeja. My problem with that is, let's also get Jamie in. My problem with that is what happened with Ravindra Jadeja and CSK in the IPL, Jamie. And that's why I think he probably is not the right person to be the captain. So, Ravichandran Ashwin, I don't know. The other thing being, India plays, I think, most of its Test matches next year at home. except I think right towards the end when they travel to Australia for a full tour. England are coming here in March, I think, next year. So they play 5 test matches here. New Zealand are coming here. Bangladesh are coming here. India playing all their test matches at home.
See, I think in regards to Hardik Pandya, he's not, forget test cricket, he's not played a first-class match since 2018. So it's very clear that Hardik Pandya, 5 years ago, he turned his back on first-class cricket. So to my mind, he's not an option because if for 5 years you don't value the format and you don't think you're capable, how are you going to make him test captain? That said, look, Meha, this whole, you call it transformation, transition, reset button, whatever it is, it's not going to happen with saying, okay, Shreyas Iyer comes back, he becomes the captain. Yes, identify someone under the age of 26, 27 who then can give you the job for 5 years, right? There's no point giving it to Ashwin or Jadeja or even, Ajinkya Rahane, who probably have combined no more than 2 more years left as test players. It has to be someone who's younger. And I go back to what I said earlier, it is one of the failures of the Virat Kohli, Ravi Shastri 5-year, 6-year term that they were not able to identify a vice captain. Who did they pick as vice captain? KL Rahul, who has 0 leadership experience. I'm not counting that corporate league called the IPL. Never captained Karnataka, never captained India A. Who in that team thought KL Rahul at the age of 29 was going to be a vice captain should be sacked from his job, right? Transition, grooming. Grooming means you pick someone who's going to play for minimum 5 to 7 years. You identify certain facets in him. You don't burden him with a leadership role at the age of 25, 26, but you mentor him. You have a dialogue. Hey, beta, if your form sticks with you, you could be the next captain. Did Kohli and Shastri do that? Doesn't look like it. Are these guys doing it? No, because they don't have anyone. Of course, had Shreyas Iyer, who's led very, very well. He's led Mumbai. He's led India. You have to have captain Meha, the bare minimum, your state team. KL Rahul never captained Karnataka, and they made him vice captain and then captain. The guy looked clueless at the toss in Bangladesh, and then he sails Rahul Dravid down the river by saying, "I leave these things to guys who know more."
Yeah.
I would have said, "Bhaiya, tum team chhod do." It has to be someone who's going to play 5, 7 years. That is Shreyas Iyer, that is Shubman Gill, that is Rishabh Pant whenever he comes back. But that requires hand holding, and Rohit Sharma is not going to hand hold. Virat Kohli cannot hand hold. Pujara cannot handhold. Ashwin maybe, but if Ashwin is a guy who, despite being number 1, can't get a game overseas for 6 matches, it's not going to be him.
Yeah.
That leaves, to my mind, someone whose inclusion, as you and Vedam know, I was against for this final. But that said, it's not about him getting 89 runs. It's about him at least having an impeccable captaincy record, someone who's respected. But do not count on Rahane, the batsman, to lead you for 2 years. Give him a role. Ki bhai, 1 saal tak groom Rishabh Pant. Groom Shubman Gill, groom Shreyas Iyer, and then let's see where it goes. To my mind, it's that simple. Will it happen? I'm not so convinced.
I think the first thing that they need to do is make Shubman Gill the vice captain for this West Indies tour. I think that's the first thing. Let's start with Shubman Gill, try to groom him, and this is the best opportunity. He's 23 years old, Vedam. Just give him vice captaincy. Start grooming him.
Yeah, what it would do, of course, is give him really a lot of confidence. He will know that, they're looking up to him and he'll start batting better. That's what I feel. Sometimes responsibility can burden you and make you a poorer player. But, you make him a vice captain and he knows they're looking up to him. The whole team is looking up to him, including his captain and all the others in the side. Yeah, he'll definitely start playing better. It's a good suggestion that you have made. Shubman Gill is a good choice. And we know that if he gets going, actually he's not got going, he's struggling. But if he gets going, he can easily be there in Indian cricket for the next 10 years. And that's the kind of guy you want, who can take you ahead. Yeah, I don't mind at all. I think Shubman Gill as a choice for the vice captain is excellent.
Now, I don't know whether you have seen an interview that Saurav Ganguly has done, and he's spoken about Virat Kohli's captaincy. I don't know whether Jamie has seen it, I don't know whether Vedam has seen it, but one of the things that he's spoken about is that Virat Kohli giving up his test captaincy was most unexpected by the BCCI. They had no idea that he was going to do it. I have that quote. I'm going to try to put that quote out, but this is what the quote was. He says, BCCI was not prepared for Virat Kohli leaving the Test captaincy. It was unexpected for us also after the South Africa tour. Only Virat Kohli can reveal why he left the captaincy. There's no point talking about this now. The selectors needed a captain after Virat left, and Rohit was the best that time. He had won 5 IPL trophies and done well at the international level as well. He won the Asia Cup. He was the best option. There's also a part where he says that winning an IPL trophy is far more difficult than winning a World Cup. My reaction, it's pretty straightforward. You can make out where Indian cricket's priorities are. When the former president, former player, former captain of this country says winning an IPL is more difficult than the World Cup. But more than that, the kind of situation Indian cricket was in when Virat Kohli left the captaincy, and that they had no option but to go for Rohit. Whose fault is that? Jamie?
Well, let's not discount the role that Saurav Ganguly himself had in pushing Virat Kohli to make that decision, right? I don't think we need to be, some NASA or ISRO scientist to realize where that decision came from.
Yeah.
It didn't come from losing a Test series in South Africa once again. It came from the way that Virat Kohli was treated. I mean, all three of us on this show, we've seen n number of BCCI press releases come out on mail, and to have one line right at the bottom, literally above signed Secretary Jai Shah, and all those standard bits of text that come at the bottom of every email, and after the whole ODI squad selection, to mention, yeah, by the way, we've also removed Virat Kohli as captain. I mean, you just basically slapped Virat Kohli in the face, right? And then all the comments that went back and forth, the way that Virat Kohli literally took charge of that press conference and gave, I would say, arguably the most honest and most passionate press conference of his career. The very next day. So let's not take Saurav Ganguly's words entirely as the truth. Yes, he's right that, in fact, I said this too when I was on one of the TV channels, that whenever the bombshell dropped that Virat Kohli's just stepped down, and whoever was in that dressing room, they would have looked around, and obviously with a halo over his head and a white aura behind him, Rohit Sharma's figure and name would have risen by itself because of the 5 IPL titles that he'd had. But 5, I think winning, and I didn't hear this last statement you said. If Mr. Saurav Ganguly, former BCCI president, former captain of India during a very tough phase, has said that leading an IPL team to IPL trophy is tougher than leading India to a World Cup. I mean, look, yes, Rohit Sharma won 5 titles at a young age, thrust into the job in 2013 mid-season.
Yeah.
But look at the machinery that runs the team that runs the country runs Mumbai Indians, right? So he pretty much had things fall into place. And the moment that machinery was broken, where have Mumbai Indians ended up since? So let's please not compare a corporate league, Mr. Ganguly, to captaining the country. That if that's true, I think we can all just pack up and go home. Indian cricket
that's
is finished.
exactly what he says. I'll tell you the remark after that, Vedam. Saurav Ganguly goes on to say in this interview, I have full faith on Rohit. He and MS Dhoni have won 5 IPL titles. Winning the IPL isn't easy because it's a tough tournament. Winning the IPL is more difficult than winning a World Cup, as there are 14 matches after which you take part in the playoffs. In the World Cup, it takes only 4 or 5 matches for a place in the semis. In the IPL, it takes 17 matches for you to become champions.
I really don't think we need to take the Saurav Ganguly seriously at all, because I think Kohli called him a liar openly, and he said he'll get back, and he still hasn't got back. That's quite some time now. That's one. Another thing, as a board president, he was actually modeling as a board president, he was modeling for the boards official sponsors for their opponents.
Some kind of a fantasy league. Yes, I remember the fantasy.
That doesn't say much. And in these days of agents and PRs, I don't think we should take Saurav Ganguly seriously at all. It's a waste of time. He was a captain of India. He did well by himself. And that's fine. That's it. I don't think we should take him seriously.
Okay, then let's move on to, we've already spoken about the batters. How puzzled are you by the lack of fast bowling options? I mean, if you have to turn to Umesh Yadav, Jamie, at this point and actually have nobody else, I wonder what seems to have gone wrong. Because during the time of Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri with Bharat Arun as their fast bowling coach, you did have a lot of fast bowling options. Where are those options now?
Of course, let's start with the biggest find of that era, a find which we can give a lot of credit to John Wright and Mumbai Indians scouts too. That is Jasprit Bumrah, and of course, like Kushan mentioned yesterday, Jasprit Bumrah and Ishant Sharma had a huge say in that 5 year period. Now Jasprit Bumrah is unfortunately injured, might not play a Test match ever again. So no point talking about him too much. Ishant Sharma 2.0 or 3.0, I don't know which latest version of him it was, but he came back from that stint of county cricket working with Jason Gillespie, and he had a fantastic role to play for India home and away for the next 3.5 years. Now, of course, there's no announcement because there are no selectors, but we all know that Ishant Sharma has played his last Test match. He's hardly playing domestic cricket. Umesh Yadav is actually older than Ishant Sharma, which is strange to realize when Ishant Sharma began so many years before. Mohammad Shami is not getting any younger, still remains the leader of this pack. I think Mohammad Siraj, 29, can still be counted on for some time. But beyond that, that same facet, this fast bowling depth, which we've all been marveling at, and I'm sure Vedam, who's watched a lot more cricket than me, can also attest to. Suddenly, that strength of fast bowlers looks depleted because, I mean, where is Prasidh Krishna? I'm such a big fan of him. I mean, he got married recently, so let's hope that's a sign that he returns. Shardul Thakur, look, he's not going to run through teams. He's very much an overseas specialist, which is why he's played 8 tests overseas. He might be around for a few years, but the fact that someone like a Kuldeep Sen pulls up after his one-day debut and doesn't play again, we've seen injuries. I think injuries have really hit this team hard. The NCA, I remain rather skeptical. What's the word? Skeptical. Sorry, there's so much in my head about this fast bowling and batting lineup. Skeptical about what they do since Rahul Dravid left there. There are names, but they're not names. Mukesh Kumar's name is bandied about. I think he's 29. There's just not enough. Mukesh Chaudhary's name was taken. Maybe you go to a Yash Thakur, maybe you go to a Mohsin Khan. Whoever it is, Avesh Khan. They're all bowlers they don't have a lot of first class experience, but at some point you're going to have to take a punt. And I think the fact that India A tour is not as robust as it was 5 years ago, 4 years ago. That's definitely had a toll. You're not seeing fast bowlers. In fact, while you were talking, I just quickly pulled up the India A's last tour, which was to Bangladesh in December. And there was Navdeep Saini, who I think they've tried many, many times. He's also Meha 29. Umesh Yadav was there. Most of the bowlers there are all the wrong side of 27, 28.
No, but I'm talking about...
I just don't think so.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about, say, even the ones who've risen to prominence after the Under-19 World Cup, Kamlesh Nagarkoti, Shivam Mavi. I mean, who else was there? Kartik Tyagi. I don't know where these players are. And, of course, some of their careers have been stalled by injuries. But having said that, all of a sudden, you're in this situation where you really don't have that depth in your fast bowling. And that to me is surprising because of how well they all were doing at one point. So that's the other thing. But having said that now, I also want to talk a little bit about the T20Is in West Indies. There are now reports that IPL performers, players who've done well in this edition of the IPL, which just finished before the World Test Championship final, they will get opportunities. And so there are reports that Rinku Singh, who by far was the best finisher of this edition of the IPL this year, he is going to get an opportunity in the T20 internationals. T20Is will be led by Hardik Pandya. There is also a report that Mukesh Kumar is going to be there in, like I said, in the Test matches in place of Umesh Yadav. But Jitesh Sharma is another one in T20Is. you could see him there. I think this is the right choice, Vedam, to have IPL performers straight away be drafted in T20Is. That's the way to go. Rinku Singh deserves a place. Why not give him an opportunity?
One thing we can be very sure of, whichever team India fields, West Indies will be coming at them very hard, because every single West Indian cricketer in that 11 would like to make an impression and catch the eye of the franchise owners, because they have realized, they've seen what Pollard has done, and the riches that Pollard and Gale and a whole lot of them have.
Nicholas Pooran.
Yeah, the whole lot of them. There's so many.
Yeah.
And they know that this is their ticket to name and fame. So they'll come very hard. Having said that, I don't think it's such a bad idea to go for the IPL stars at all.
Yeah.
Because many of these guys who are actually doing well are the younger lot.
Yeah.
It's not the older lot, it's the younger lot.
Yeah.
And maybe they can even serve you much better as the years go by. Rinku Singh, whom you mentioned, I would absolutely take him, because that guy has fought all the odds and still come a success. Yes, I would definitely take Rinku Singh, and I would take a whole lot of others too. Jaiswal I've already mentioned, but yes, a whole lot of others too. Ruturaj Gaikwad. We need to first and foremost reward these talented players. They are talented players. They've shown themselves playing under pressure, because playing for an IPL franchise team is huge pressure, and it's not easy. There's so much of pressure on you from the franchise owners. Some of them may not even understand what cricket is, but they're not going to take it lying down. They'll keep at you, and it's pressure. It's better and simpler to go out there in the middle and make some runs and come back, rather than come back early and take all sorts of flack. But yes, I would really go for some of these IPL youngsters, basically because they're young, they have delivered, and at least then Indian cricket will move away from some of these veterans whom we are hanging on with because of agents and PR agencies.
Okay. Now, with less than 4 months to go for the ODI World Cup, we were discussing this right at the beginning of the show, and now we're going to talk about the ICC ODI World Cup, which India will be hosting. The initial draft schedule of the tournament is out, and India will be playing Pakistan on the 15th of October in Ahmedabad at the Narendra Modi Stadium. Now, the BCCI shared this draft with the other participating countries and the ICC for feedback before the final schedule will be put out, hopefully this week. According to this version of the schedule, India are to play their league matches at 9 different venues, which are Chennai, Delhi, Ahmedabad, Pune, Dharamshala, Lucknow, Mumbai, Kolkata and Bengaluru, so all over the country. The 2015 and 2019 World Cup schedule was finalized more than a year in advance. Jamie and I were talking about this, and the delay will not only impact the participating teams, but also fans who are planning to travel to India for this global tournament. BCCI Secretary Jay Shahid earlier said the schedule would be out by the WTC final, but till now there's no clarity on the final schedule. It's still not out. So this is the initial draft that is out, and those are the details that we're putting here. But it's incredible how BCCI really can. Actually, it's not incredible. I think it's believable, really, that BCCI can get away with this, Jamie. We were talking about it at the start of the show, to think that this global tournament where, 10 countries are going to be participating. So there are going to be fans from all over the cricketing nations, that you still, with less than 4 months to go, you do not have the schedule, you do not have the venue. I mean, you really are taking fans for granted.
You're taking fans for granted, nothing new. And like Vedam very rightly pointed out, in smaller venues, can Lucknow handle the influx of fans, just Indian fans, and I'm sure there will be a lot of overseas fans. So you put this neglect for the fans, which is nothing new at all, and what Vedam pointed out very rightly, and you're looking at a mess. And let's just hope that it doesn't take more than a couple more days for this schedule to be ratified and put out, because people need to know. It's going to become more and more embarrassing. Not that the BCCI cares what people think about them, But when you look at the value that the BCCI has traditionally placed on turnstile revenue, which is nothing, they don't really care what how much money is made from the turnstiles. The money is made from many deals and other avenues of revenue. So I think more than that, I think let's not let's not spend too much time talking about this. Let's just hope that it happens and we get good cricket, because I'm just wondering, given all that we've seen in the last year and a half about the future of bilaterals. Ben Stokes in his prime, 31, saying, "I don't want to play ODIs." I mean, Ben Stokes, the best all-rounder going around right now, saying that I don't want to be part of the team that defends it, and then all the comments, Sachin Tendulkar, Wasim Akram, Shastri, whoever it is. I think the one-day game is looking at a very uncertain future, which leads me to wonder: is this the last relevant one-day World Cup we'll ever see? Because
Yeah.
2020, when's the next one? 2027 um, looks a long ways away. If you look at this, we have three T20 leagues starting up this year.
Yeah.
What is this MLC going to do? We don't know. So let's just hope that we get a good World Cup, Mia.
Yeah, so 3 domestic leagues. There's the one in the US, there's South Africa, there's one in Dubai. Where are you going to get the time and the relevance of ODI World Cup? But we're going to stick a little bit longer with this conversation, because I think fans, who are really the biggest stakeholders, are not treated the way they should be in the country, Vedam. How often have we seen this? That they really are the last that the board thinks of. To think that, you rightly said, that some of the smaller venues, how difficult would it be for them to prepare for a tournament like the World Cup, but also fans to make travel arrangements, to be able to come, to be able to cheer the team. Stadium experience, we already know in India, is really bad. So it's almost like Indian fans will anyway come. So why make the effort? And that to me is hugely problematic.
Yeah, Meha, actually, we need a template. BCCI needs to come up with a template on what a ground should contain. We have stinking toilets, overflowing toilets, seats are uncomfortable. I mean, the list can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Your food available, the water, it's pathetic. The very fact that a lot of Indian fans actually prefer to go and watch cricket overseas. They follow Indian teams overseas, and many of them fly from here. It's not just the locals who are staying there. Many of them fly from here. I think they find it far more attractive to fly down, have a good time at the game, and a lot of better time after the game. So I think we need to organize this much better. We can't say that this is how cricket was run in 1845 or 1850, and we are going to continue running it this way. It's not it. The game has changed. One of the examples I gave about one of the earlier shows about the SoFi Stadium, which is coming up for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and later for the 2028 opening and closing ceremonies of the Olympics. I mean, they are able to plan so well in advance and get it going. And I think that's exactly what we need to do. Start working, start doing things much earlier. Don't wait till somebody pulls you up or you have another LODA commission or something which will tell you what to do. And I think actually it's time some of these fans took the board to court, because you can't go around this. You look at the schedule drawn also. The president's cities get a few good matches. The secretary's cities get a few good matches. The treasurer's cities get a few good matches. This is how you want to run it. And why is New Zealand being hosted at Dharmashala? You should host them either in Chennai or in Vizag. These are hot places. Why should it be accommodative for New Zealand? Give them hot places. They are not going to be accommodative. When we go to New Zealand, they play in the coldest of cities and on green tops. Why should we accommodate them? I think we need to get some of our priorities right. Forget about who the board president, secretary, or treasurer is.
Correct.
Drop a proper schedule and stick with it.
On top of that, right now this draft schedule does not mention the venue for the semi-finals. They've got the dates, likely dates out on November 15th and 16th, and the final will be on 19th of November in Ahmedabad. So that's decided, but the venues for the semi-finals still not decided. Jamie, you wanted to make a point. I'm going to wrap it up. So last word to you.
I can tell you that one semi-final will be in Chennai, the other will be in Mumbai. There's no doubt about that. But look, just for the benefit of your viewers here, I'll just very briefly give the example. 1998, I've just graduated from class 11. We go from India to the US. We stop over in the UK for literally 3 4 days. We're at a bookstop somewhere in Piccadilly Circus. My father is a cricket tragic. He's like, hey, see, there's a brochure. We literally pick up a brochure for 12 months down the line, the World Cup being held in England. We're able to look at the fixtures. We're able to look at what's happening. We're able to then make some calls. We're able to get visas. We're able to book tickets, and then those two matches, we got semi-final 1 and semi-final 2. Semi-final 1 was a total one-sided thrashing of Pakistan Pakistan thrashed New Zealand. But that second match, Edgbaston, a tie, Lance Klusener, Alan Donald, that final match, I will forever remain indebted to my father for picking up that brochure, but also to the host nation, the ECB and the ICC, for putting out that brochure across countless little bookshops across England, right?
Yeah.
We were able to plan a year. I came back to my hostel and said, haha, I'm going to the World Cup next year, I'm sure there's some 18, 17-year-old, 18-year-old version of me out there wondering, yaar, 4 mahine baki hai, what's going to happen? And that just saddens me, which is why on this topic, I end up just getting so worked up, because you've denied countless teenagers and people Indians overseas who have to take leave and apply and come back to India to watch their heroes. Vedam's right. These fans need to take some action against the BCI.
Absolutely, and everything that you've said there is right. Hopefully the BCCI is listening, and hopefully that schedule's out sooner than later. No, they're not. Okay, we're hoping, with our fingers crossed, the schedule's out soon. Thank you so much, Jamie Alter. I'm running out of time. Vedam Jaishankar for joining us here. That's it on this special News9 Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.